Whether you're joining one of our events for the first time or if you're a seasoned regular, welcome to the Customer Marketing Summit. We have an incredible selection of innovative content lined up for you today, but before we dive in, I just want to say a huge thank you to our sponsors, speakers and you, our lovely audience, for joining us. From wherever in the world you are watching, we're sure you'll enjoy today's talks. To get the most out of these sessions, please make sure you're asking your questions in the comment section for our speakers to answer. Each of today's sessions recordings will be uploaded into our on-demand content library, which you can access with a CMA Pro membership. As some of you may already know, Customer Marketing Alliance has now launched as its very own community. I'll be sharing the links to check out our new membership and Slack community, so be sure to keep an eye on the chat. With all this to look forward to, let's get started.
Hello everyone, my name is Jana Freva and I'm very excited to be speaking to you today at the Customer Marketing Conference. I started my career working for a US startup in London that got bought by Oracle, and today I'm working for Spendesk, where I'm establishing a new marketing function focused on growth. Spendesk is a B2B solution that is providing spend management to more than 3,500 companies who have managed over 8 billion euro on our platform since our inception in 2016. This year has been particularly exciting for us because in January, following our Series C extension funding, we became a unicorn. And even the French president, Emmanuel Macron, tweeted about us. So that was a real highlight of my career. But I think today you're here to listen to my talk about customers and personas rather than about myself or my company. And I think a lot of us marketers really start with personas. That's sort of our key mantra. But working at Spendesk, I worked with some top-notch product managers, and they introduced me to the Job to Be Done framework. And it really got me thinking, are we maybe a little bit too obsessed with personas? Should they really be the starting point of our marketing activities, or should we focus more on the problems? So in this talk today, I want to go through some of the issues I see when we focus a little bit too heavily on the personas. And then I want to discuss an alternative approach, which is based around the Job to Be Done framework. So let's start first by looking at the 4 key issues I see with the persona first approach, and I will use some examples to illustrate these points. The first problem is that by focusing on the personas and ignoring the problem, you may be actually missing the market. You may be focusing on the wrong market entirely. The best example I have come across is that of Custom Tobacco. So Custom Tobacco is selling cigars, and at first they were focusing on cigar smokers, which makes sense, right? But actually they were not getting that many orders, and they found out 2 things. Firstly, the few orders that they were getting were from event planners and people who were looking to buy gifts for cigar smokers. And secondly, that cigar smokers themselves are very brand loyal and conscious. So they actually realized focusing on cigar smokers is not really getting us anywhere. And they've started focusing and marketing to event planners and gift givers. And instead of going to cigar shows, they started going to event planning trade shows. And I think the quote by the founder, Adam Mendler, really summarizes it well. Not only were we not solving a problem for cigar smokers, but if a problem did exist, we would not be the solution. The second problem is the fact that the problem may be the only thing that the different personas have in common. A great quote here is from Matt Hodges from Intercom. And by the way, Intercom is really great and a rare example of a company using the Job to Be Done framework for its marketing and go-to-market strategies. He's really highlighting the fact that the customers do come in all shapes and sizes and from different industries. And the one thing that they do have in common is the problem or the job to be done. When I was trying to come up with a good example of this, I had to think about my dad. You see, my dad has had the same haircut since he was born. It's a buzz cut. At first maintained by his mom, now maintained by my mom. But my dad is using hair ties, the same like I do, even though demographically we are extremely different. You see, my dad, he's still claiming that he fits into his wedding trousers, 35 years on, 35 years on. But actually he's using the hair tie to make the waistband of the trousers a little bit more elastic, because his waist and his age have sort of grown proportionally. So both me and my dad are using hair ties to tie something together. So that unites us. But if you want to come up with messaging based on our demographics, you probably would fail. The third issue is that it's the problems that help you expand. It's not the personas. If you think about a typical acquisition tactic, it's lookalike audiences when it comes to paid social. You take your existing target audience or your existing customers, and you basically try to find the same or lookalike ones. And this helps you get additional customers, but there is obviously an end to it, because there is a limit to how many people look like your audience. And also the farther you go, the lower intent customers you're gonna get. So it becomes more expensive. On the other hand, if you try to expand using the job to be done or the problem, you actually expand the overall market rather than just get to the limit of it. A great example here is Splitwise. So Splitwise, as the name suggests, helps people to split their bills. At first, they started by focusing on flatmates. For example, if a flatmate paid an energy bill, he could use Splitwise, or she could use Splitwise to share it with their flatmates. But when Splitwise started looking at where else we can expand, they didn't think of, well, what other things the flatmates need, but they thought about who else has the same job to be done or the same problem to achieve. And they realized travel companions. So by focusing on the problem, it helped Splitwise expand to a completely new market, and that is the travel market. And finally, I realized that persons actually don't think demographically, thanks to a colleague of mine. At Spendesk, one of our key personas is a budget owner. We define it as anyone who owns a budget, no matter how big or small. And when I said to my colleague, oh, you're the perfect example of budget owner, she said, oh, I don't see myself as a budget owner. That sounds way too senior for me. But once I described to her the problems and the jobs to be done that this persona is trying to achieve, she said, oh, wow, yeah, that's actually me. But this conversation made me realize, actually, if I really focus, if I really use the term budget owner, I'm actually excluding the very people I'm trying to target. And even if you think about how you Google things, like you don't Google solution for budget owner, but you Google, I need to create a budget, or I need to track a budget. So you really look for your solution in terms of the job to be done or the problem you have. So these are the 4 key problems I see. The first one is, if you don't focus on the problem, you may be actually focusing on the wrong market entirely. The second one is, the problem may be the only thing that a lot of different personas have in common. So it's a lot easier for you to market to them around the problem rather than around them demographically. The third one is, if you focus on the persona, you're actually looking at a limited market, but if you focus on the problem, this really helps you expand beyond where you are today. And the fourth one is that personas don't think demographically, they think in terms of problems and jobs to be done. There are also other issues I have come across, but these are really the 4 key ones that I see. Now, if I have persuaded you, you may be asking, well, what's the other solution? What's the other approach we could use? And I really believe that starting with the problem and focusing on personas later as a way to enrich your strategy is a better way to go. I think there are 4 key steps to follow. The first one is to identify the problem and the job to be done using the job to be done framework. The second one is to then use the problem to really define who your personas are. The third one is to develop your go-to-market strategy around the problem. And the fourth one is then to leverage the personas as a way to implement the go-to-market strategy. So in this case, for example, realizing that, oh, we need to go to event trade shows because this is where our personas are. In this talk, though, I want to focus in particular on the very first aspect in terms of identifying the problem using the job to be done. This is because the job to be done framework is something that has been used quite heavily for a long time among product managers and product designers, but I think it's underused on the marketing side. And I think us as marketers are not very familiar with this framework, but also we don't use it as much as we really should, because I think it's a really great way to come up with our value proposition, competitive differentiation, and go-to-market strategies. There are three key steps to job to be done that I want to go through today. The first one is the job to be done itself and the job map. The second one is the desired outcome statement. And the third one is the analysis of unmet needs. So let's start by looking at the job to be done. Now, I've thrown this term around a lot already during this presentation, but it still may sound foreign to you. But maybe the statement, customers don't need to drill, they need a hole in the wall, this may start sounding a bit more familiar to you. And this is really at the heart of the concept. The idea is that customers hire a product or a service to accomplish a certain task, to overcome a certain problem. The way to find this out is through a lot of user and customer interviews. But then the way to really formulate it or to phrase it is to following this formula, this job to be done statement. It's made up of three different parts: the context, job to achieve, and the outcome we want to achieve through the job. So let's say I have a bike I'm very protective of. This is the job to be done statement in terms of what I want to achieve when it comes to my bike. So when I leave my bike unattended, that's the context, I want to be sure no one will steal it, that's the job, so that I can relax. That's the outcome. There are a couple of things to highlight here. The first one is, notice that I'm not saying I want to lock it so that no one steals it and I can relax. It is solution agnostic. It's not saying how I want to protect it. It's just saying the ultimate thing I want to achieve is to protect my bike, is to make sure no one will steal it. It's solution agnostic because then it opens the door to innovation, because there are a lot of different ways actually to protect my bike, from probably some inconvenient ways, like ask someone to watch it for a few hours on my behalf, or to installing an alarm system or a type of a chip. But you see, by really focusing on the job rather than on the solution, it really opens up the doors to understanding what the customers want to achieve. And it also makes the statement valid for a longer period of time. When it comes to the outcome, there are three types of outcomes. The first one is functional. So that's like reduce or improve something. The second one is emotional. This is about how I want to feel. In this case, so that I can relax, is more of an emotional outcome. And the third one is social, which is around how I want to be perceived when the job is done. As a marketer, I can't help but look at this statement and think about, this is actually very similar to value proposition. And that's why I think it's like so powerful for us marketers to really use this framework, because it really tells us what the customer wants to achieve, what they care about, and what are the metrics, the values that they care about as well. So this is the overall job to be done statement, but actually every job is made up of several different steps and components. So the second, more detailed layer to the job to be done is the job map. And there are 7 discrete steps that you can map to each job to be done. Because, for example, if I want to protect my bike, there are probably a ton of different steps to it, right? It's about, well, I'm going somewhere with my bike. I have to find a place to leave it. I'm leaving the bike there, installing something to protect it. And then I come back to find the bike, for example. You can, I'm not going to go into more level of detail here, but you can follow the Stefan Diefenbacher article that really goes into the detail how to split the job statement into the discrete steps, the job map. Why do we care about a job map? This is because often we have a solution for everything these days, right? But there may be a particular aspect of the solution or a particular step in the job to be done that is a little bit underlooked, that there is no great solution in the market that the customer still struggles with. And this really helps us to break the job into its discrete parts to really understand where the customer needs are met well and which aspect is not meeting the customer needs that well. And then we can really focus on that particular aspect or the step into job with our solutioning and our value proposition. The second step is the desired outcome statement. This is essentially a success metric that the customer wants to achieve through the job. There is a formula to it as well. This is because it has to be measurable and very concrete. So the formula consists of direction of improvement, such as minimize or increase, performance metric, like time or likelihood, the outcome, and the context of the outcome. So an example with the bike could be reuse, which is the direction of improvement, the number of items I have to carry around, which is the performance metric, to protect my bike, outcome, when I leave it unattended, context. The desired outcome statement can be one at the level of job to be done, but you can also have several to each particular step in the job map that we've seen on the previous slide. And finally, once we have the job to be done, the job map, and the desired outcome statement, we can really see where customer needs are still unmet. We have to ask, how important is this for you? Because we want to focus on something that matters to the customer, right? But secondly, we have to also understand how well the need is met. So we ask, to what degree are you satisfied with the existing solutions? And this can really help us understand, well, this particular part of the job to be done is not met very well today, and this is where the customer struggles still. And then this allows us to really innovate in that area or to position our solution in that area because no one else is there today. There is a lot to it, but I think a great example of a company that leveraged this well is Coloplast. So Coloplast provides wound healing solutions, and all their competitors focused on healing fast messaging and value proposition. But Coloplast used the job to be done framework, and they realized that actually the nurses don't really care about the fast healing. What they care about is preventing healing complications. So they started positioning around that message. And obviously their revenue grew like crazy because otherwise I wouldn't be using the example here today. But as you've seen, by starting with the problem, the desired outcome, and analyzing the unmet needs, this will really inform your go-to-market strategy to understand how do we want to position, what's our differentiation, what's the key message we want to drive. And then you can use the personas, like for example, in the Coloplast case, the nurses, to realize, okay, we want to market this in hospitals, or we want to market this at this time or through these fora or these channels because it's where the nurses are. But I really believe that starting with the problem really helps us to focus well on the key positioning, the messaging, on the key differentiation, and then leveraging personas as a way to enrich that strategy. If you want to read more about this in more details, or review some of the examples I've given in this talk, have a look at the SASE guide to personas are dead, long live their problems, or feel free to email me after as well if you want to chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed this talk, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the summit.
These days, authentic customer reviews, referrals, and references are what buyers trust and value most when making purchasing decisions. That's where Influitive comes in. We're the advocacy, community, and engagement platform of choice for the world's most customer-obsessed brands, including Adobe, Cisco, IBM, and Mountain Dew. Our advanced targeting, personalization, gamification, and rewards drive extreme engagement and customer growth at scale. Let Influitive help you turn your customers into loyal advocates and grow your business.
The impact and value of customer marketing is becoming more and more relevant across all kinds of organizations. Whether you're looking to build a customer marketing function from the ground up or make greater waves with one that already exists, this first-of-a-kind course will give you everything you need to excel at customer marketing with tried and tested advice and experience from Gong, Google, Lessonly, HighSpot, and many, many more. So what exactly does the course look like? We've created a curriculum with a holistic approach to customer marketing, covering a wide range of topics to give you deep insights into the core pillars of the role, all containing actionable advice and real-world examples. You'll also find plenty of frameworks, templates, and infographics to put to good use, as well as fireside chats with some of the best customer marketers out there. In each section, you'll be given the opportunity to put your newfound knowledge into practice, with tasks as well as with exam questions. If you pass all of these, you can show off your certificate as you'll be Customer Marketing Certified, accredited by the Continuing Professional Development Organization and recognized by the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So, if you want to know how to retain customers, delight and engage them, all while having a real impact on the goals of your organization, look no further and get certified.